Today, I'm going to be adding one amazing superstar using every jersey number. The goal is to construct a roster to compete for a Super Bowl in just one season, but we have to fill out the entire roster by using one player from every NFL team. This means we cannot add more than one player from the same NFL team to our roster, which will make this even more challenging. Starting with the number 10. The number 10 is usually worn by quarterbacks and receivers, which includes players like Justin Herbert, DeAndre Hopkins, and even Cooper Kupp. All three of these players are elite superstars in the NFL, but I want to add some speed to my team, so we're going to go with Miami Dolphins Tyreek Hill. Now that we added our first player to the roster, we can no longer add a player from the Dolphins roster, and the number 10 is now off the wheel. The wheel lands on the number 77, and this number is usually used for offensive linemen. A few solid options with Tyron Smith of the Cowboys, Trent Brown of the Patriots, and Frank Ragnow of the Lions, but I decided to go with number 77 on the Cleveland Browns, Wyatt Teller. And after adding Teller to the offensive line, we have knocked out two NFL teams so far with the number 10 and the number 77. If we are unable to fill a certain position on the team, we will be left with a 70 or below rated player to fill that spot, which will also hurt our goal of winning a Super Bowl. With the wheel landing on the number 85, this one was an easy choice, adding George Kittle from the 49ers as our starting tight end on the team. And moving right along, we have the number 7. Trayvon Diggs of the Cowboys or Hassan Reddick of the Eagles both play on the defensive side of the ball, but I think I'm going to be going with Hassan Reddick of the Eagles since quarterbacks might be a little bit easier to find later on in the video. And just like that, we have our new left outside linebacker on the team. Spinning the wheel of jersey numbers once again, and it looks like it's going to be landing on the number 11. This worked out perfectly. Now we can go with a Cowboy superstar and Micah Parsons. He wears a number 11, is one of the best defensive players in the NFL right now, and he will play alongside Hassan Reddick at right outside linebacker. The number 59 is next, and to be completely honest with you, I have no idea who wears a number 59. I went ahead and googled it, and according to this article, Devondre Campbell is the best player who wears number 59, and he is going to be our new middle linebacker on the team from the Green Bay Packers. After 6 jersey numbers, the team is starting to look a lot better with some great pieces on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Next up is jersey number 27, and their obvious choice here is going to be from the Buffalo Bills in Trey White, and he will be our first cornerback on the team. The next two wheel spins land on number 79 and 63, so I decided to bring in Rob Havenstein from the LA Rams and Corey Linsley of the LA Chargers, shoring up 2 positions on the offensive line. With 9 teams already knocked off the list, the wheel comes in clutch, landing on the number 9. I bet you can guess which superstar I'm about to add to the team. It's going to be our starting quarterback in Joe Burrow. And now with him at quarterback number 1, the Super Bowl should be in reach for us this year. Even with the new addition at quarterback, the team is still missing key pieces to make a deep playoff run. And with the wheels spinning, I really hope we could bring in a running back, but unfortunately, it's going to be landing on the number 14. The highest rated number 14 is Stephon Diggs, but we already selected a player from the Buffalo Bills, so the other options are Chris Godwin, DK Metcalf, or Amon-Ra St. Brown. But instead of going with the man who whooped my butt in Madden a few months ago, we are going to be going with DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks. And he's going to be slotting in at wide receiver number 2 for now. The next 2 wheel spins land on the number 2 and the number 41. Both choices were easy, bringing in Patrick Surtain from the Broncos and Alvin Kamara from the Saints. And just like that, we have knocked off 13 NFL teams from the list so far. The number 34 is next on the wheel spin, and there's really not many options for this one. The best player that I can find was Jalen Thompson of the Arizona Cardinals, so he'll be our first safety on the team. Quickly moving on, the next jersey number is a high one, the number 78. A few options on the offensive line in Laramie Tunzel, Andrew Thomas, and Tristan Wirfs, but since we already have a right tackle, let's go ahead and bring in Laramie Tunzel from the Houston Texans. I really hope we start landing on players in the 90s because we have no one on the defensive line yet, but it looks like we'll have to wait a little bit longer as a wheel spin lands on the number 17. The first player that comes to mind is Devontae Adams, so let's go ahead and bring him on the team and make him wide receiver number 2, shifting DK Metcalf to wide receiver number 3. Speeding this up just a little bit, the first wheel spin lands on the number 4, followed by the number 29, and closing it out with the number 30, adding DJ Reed Jr. from the Jets, Xavier McKinney from the Giants, and then Jesse Bates from the Falcons. And just like that, we were able to completely build our secondary, but are still missing players on the defensive line. And spinning the wheel of jersey number is finally going to be landing on a high number, the number 94. Definitely an easy choice here with Deron Payne of the Commanders, since we cannot add Christian Wilkins since we already took a Dolphins player. The next couple of wheel spins land on the number 49 and 97. I was able to find some solid players using those jersey numbers in Tremaine Edmonds of the Bears and Cameron Hayward from the Steelers. After adding both players to the team, our defense is looking amazing. And with 22 teams accounted for, we still have 10 more teams to fill out in order to complete this roster. The next wheel spin lands on jersey number 28. A few choices here, but since we only have one running back, let's add Jonathan Taylor as running back number 1. The next 2 wheel spins land on the number 88 and then the number 42. Both players will be from the offensive side of the ball in Mike Gesicki of the Patriots and Patrick Ricard of the Ravens. Only 7 teams remain, and we are still missing a left guard on offense, a few positions on defense, while we still need a kicker and maybe a punter. And after spinning the wheel, we landed on jersey number 18. There's a few options here, but the best player available from the Minnesota Vikings is going to be Justin Jefferson, and he's going to be slotting in at wide receiver number 2. I decided to spin the wheel 3 times, and it landed on number 44, 95, and 73. So I went ahead and added Trayvon Walker from the Jags, Chris Jones from the Chiefs, and Jonah Jackson from the Lions to the team. With just the Panthers, Bucks, and Titans, it is really unlikely that we'll be able to add a kicker to our team. After spinning the wheel, the first one lands on the number 22, and for the Titans, I think we have to go with King Henry. Although we already have 2 running backs, he is going to be running back number 1 for us. Spinning the last 2 wheel spins is going to be landing on the number 50 and the number 20, so let's go ahead and bring in Vita Vea from the Buccaneers, and then let's go with Eric Rowe from the Carolina Panthers. And just like that, we use a jersey number from every NFL team, and our roster is looking really solid. The team looked great from the jump with a huge defensive stop on Brock Purdy, and the defense had a big game. Touchdowns to Jay Jettis and Tyreek Hill. Joe Burrow ended up throwing for 397 yards with 4 touchdowns and defeating the Niners by a huge score. And after that big win in week 1, they ended up losing to their divisional rivals in the Packers 29-27, but then went on a big win streak defeating the Texans, Giants, Vikings, Commanders, and the Patriots. The offense led by Joe Burrow is currently 5th in the NFL, but their defense is struggling quite a bit. Joe Burrow is 4th in the NFL with 2,100 passing yards and 19 touchdowns while only throwing 6 interceptions with a passer rating of 114. Derrick Henry is off to a little bit of a slow start, only rushing for 370 yards, but he does have 6 touchdowns. The receiving core is playing lights out with Adams and Hill with over 500 yards each, and Justin Jefferson not far behind with 468. Micah Parsons is currently leading the team with 10 sacks, and Tremaine Edmonds has 3 interceptions already. After simming the rest of the season, the team ended up finishing with a 16-1 record, and now have a first-round bye heading into the playoffs. Joe Burrow ended up finishing with 5,400 receiving yards and 44 touchdowns with only 12 interceptions. Derrick Henry finished with over 1,000 yards and 20 touchdowns while our receiving core played lights out. And if you thought that was impressive, Micah Parsons ended up leading the NFL with 21 sacks. But now they take on their biggest test where they're in the playoffs and take on the Atlanta Falcons, who somehow have a pretty good offense. After simming the first quarter, we had the lead 7-0. And after simming the rest of the game, it ended up going in our favor and we ended up winning 24-21. And now we take on the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Conference Championship. The Packers ended up with a 14-3 record this year, but we got out to an early lead in the first quarter and kept that momentum going into the second quarter, taking a 21-10 point lead. The team was barely able to hang on to the lead late in the fourth quarter, defeating Jordan Love and the Packers 31-24, and we now head into the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow finished 3rd in voting for MVP, but Micah Parsons did win Defensive Player of the Year. We now take on the 13-4 Buffalo Bills, who are led by Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Can Joe Burrow and the rest of this team finish the job? And they start off with a huge gain by Derrick Henry. The offense kept their foot down, working their way down the field, but unfortunately get stopped on 4th down. And Josh Allen makes us pay, throwing some lasers to move down the field, but luckily our defense comes up big and forces a field goal. In the second quarter, Joe Burrow was finally able to get his team in the end zone thanks to a touchdown from Alvin Kamara. And then just before halftime, Joe Burrow throws an interception in the red zone. The second half began with a 42-yard field goal by the Bills, but that didn't stop Joe Burrow, who found Jay Jettis in the red zone, and then Derrick Henry punches in for a 1-yard touchdown run. Losing 14-6, Josh Allen attempts to lead his team down the field and tie the game, but the defense comes up huge, forcing a turnover, and now Joe Burrow goes back to work, slinging the rock and taking the lot of clock with him. He caps the drive off with a huge 13-yard touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill to extend the lead to 2 scores. Josh Allen and the Bills could get nothing going, and we ended up winning the Super Bowl after going 16-1. If you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you'll love this one. You should go check that one out.